Does that sound like a plan?
So far, so good. How long are we going for?
That's the last thing. Yeah, thanks, Lindsay. We are going to go until the top of the hour,
Cool.
the top of the next hour, whatever that hour is for you. that's when we're stopping. Yeah, and we're pretty good at coming in on time, aren't we, Av?
Yeah, we are. We respect everyone's time. So
Excellent. So I've got a tradesman here working, and I told him I'd be an hour. So
beautiful. Well, we won't keep you from that happening. All right, so let's get this airplane off, shall we say? We like to kick this off. First of all, I just want to say welcome. So welcome, Lindsay, Sowon, Pete, to another exciting episode of the Six Star Business Podcast. I'm super excited. Welcome. Thank you. Good to have you here.
Yeah. Great to be here.
It's early morning. It's okay. I get it. And to kick us off, we always like to ask our guests a few very simple, I should say hard, but they're not that hard, questions, which are, who are you? Where are you? And how do you serve people in the world? And also maybe something of interest that you like to do outside of that.
Cool. Ladies first. Go on, Sowon. You're up.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, my name is Sawyer. I'm currently Director of Scheduling at Sundance TV in New York, but I'm actually in kind of a funny place right now because this is my last week at this company, and as of Monday, I'm going to be moving over to Warner Media to head up the program planning department for Cartoon Network and Boomerang. So I'm going back to my kids' TV roots, which is really exciting. I'm kind of in that weird in-between closing shop on one side and then getting myself mentally prepared for the next adventure starting on Monday. And I'm in New York, currently out on Long Island, Port Washington specifically, which is quite lovely. It's on the North Shore. And I guess to answer your question about how I serve people, so my day job is program planning or scheduling of linear television, and I've been doing that for quite some time. And something that I started doing on the side was volunteer work in diversity, equity, and inclusion at ANC Network. And I was one of the co-founders of all of the DEI efforts that currently exist. So we went from a small group, people just putting on events on a monthly basis, timed to coincide with some of the celebration months like Women's History Month, Black History Month, etc., and grew to encompass 9 fully formed employee resource groups with strategy, co-chairs and executive champions and guidelines and mission statements and logos and all of that. So that's been my side passion project, something that I was deeply invested in for 4.5 years and recently graduated out of with the hiring of a Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer for the first time at ANC. So I'm particularly proud of that work, but I also in that see myself as an innovator and as an entrepreneur more than necessarily a DEI executive. That is kind of part of what I believe in terms of people philosophy, but I'm really intrigued by creating new ideas and pushing them forward. That's a little bit about me.
Wonderful.
And what about outside of work?
Oh, outside of work. I have 2 kids. They are almost 8 and 10, and I love to paint and draw as a hobby. And I'm currently taking Taekwondo, which is keeping my core in a healthy place, especially as I'm spending a lot of time behind the desk. So it's a lot of fun and a great way to make sure you don't completely turn into jello.
That's great. Lindsay.
My name is Lindsay Adams. I am based in Brisbane, Australia. I'm known around the world as the relationships guy because I focus in on, I call myself a relationship management specialist, so focusing in on business relationships. So in my background, I've been self-employed for 21 years, believe it or not, on the 3rd of July this year was my anniversary. Prior to that, had 23 years in the public sector. When I left government, I did a lot of team building. Then I did manager development training, leadership training. And then I taught business owners and salespeople how to do business by referral. And so the one common denominator to all those things is relationships. And so today I just focus in on relationships, so how to get into relationship. And I'm talking business relationships here, not boy-girl stuff. how to get into relationship quickly with someone, how to leverage those relationships to get more business. And people are really good. They meet someone for the first time. They say, hello, my name is, what do you do? And after that, they really struggle what to say next. And so I've written a book about that in particular, and how do we expand, energize relationships. Outside of work, I live on 1.5 acres of ground. I'm really excited. I've got a 2-car garage, a shed in my backyard. And as we speak, I've got an electrician tying up the ends. I'm getting power to my shed so that I can install my model railway setup. So I had model trains when I was a kid, and I packed them all up when I was 17, and they've been in boxes for 40 years and been following me around
Wow.
in my married life. And I went with my daughter and her my grandson, who's 4. We went to a live steam day. So there's one of my mates builds steam engines, and so they're miniature steam trains. And we had the best time sitting on these steam trains going round around the tracks. And we came home, my wife said, oh, well, I guess you'll be getting your model trains out now. And to be honest, it hadn't really entered my head. And I went, yeah, I think I might. And so I unpacked all the stuff, and I found a model railway club nearby, and I got the bug, and I'm raring to go. So,
Wow.
yeah, something a little different.
Took you straight back to your childhood, I bet.
Yeah. And Pete, I'll be looking for info because all of my stuff is British. So it's all trying Hornby, and some of our listeners will know what that means, but it's old stuff, but it's classic. And so all of the modelling I'll be doing will be based on Britain, not Australia, where I live. So I'll be tapping into your local knowledge, perhaps.
I'll do my best. No promises, though.
Fabulous. Thank you for that. It's so interesting when we get started and we hear people's backgrounds and where they are. And this podcast never ceases to amaze me about the diversity of people and where they come from and what they do. And part of the magic of this is, of course, that we didn't plan to have you, Lindsay, and you, Sowon, here in the same room, but magic it is. And you're talking about steam trains and so on. You're a facilitator of children's joy and imagination in their viewing pleasure. So there is correlations with us all, right?
We don't have to look too hard to find connections with fellow humans. I find, yeah.
And that's the really interesting thing. The work that I do, I talk about when you meet someone for the first time and you're trying to open up a conversation, is to find something that you have in common. What's the common ground we have here? And talk about that. And before we began recording, it was someone mentioned that, oh no, actually, I think you said you've got kids in your introduction. And so I've got kids, Pete's got kids, Abilene's got kids. We could all talk about that till the cows come home. I mean, the joy of children, the terrors of children. And so, finding what you've got in common often is the opening to a wonderful relationship.
So on the topic of creating connections, I was having a conversation earlier with 2 other women who recently either had gone through some really difficult life stuff or are still in the process of it. And I think that oftentimes, like, if we allow ourselves to kind of let the facade come down a little bit, that we can connect on a really basic human level about things that are challenging, really difficult. And I think that bonds you very quickly when you meet someone else who's gone through like real life stuff and you kind of get past the formalities. And it's not easy, but it's definitely worthwhile, I think, if the situation allows.
Yeah, I think there's got to be a certain level of trust there, of course, to do that. And the trust comes, of course, when you've got that common bond or that connection. So, yeah, it really, I mean, if you establish that relationship, then you can go so much deeper. And you can do it really quickly too. And it's really interesting. I met a guy, I was at a conference in America and it's lunchtime. I'm lining up at the buffet. I got to the head of the queue. There's the big pile of plates and the knives and forks all wrapped up. And I took a plate and a knife and fork pack, and I turned around and I read the name tag of the guy behind me, Bob. I said, "G'day, Bob. I'm Lindsay. Here's a plate and a knife and fork." And he went, "Oh, thanks, Lindsay." And then we went down the food table and filled our plates together. Then we sat together. And that guy has become my second best friend for life. I've got an open invitation to stay at his house whenever I'm in America. It's really interesting sometimes, the little things that just spark a relationship. And the thing we had in common, of course, was attending the conference. So what do you do? We're both professional speakers. What's your topic? Where do you work? What's your patch? And so it was really interesting, sort of just how quickly we jumped down into the relationship and just had a wonderful conversation and now have a wonderful friendship.
That's amazing.
How difficult do you think it is for people to do this in everyday life? And the question is open to both of you because, Sowon, you'd have very interesting experiences in that corporate environment as well.
Mm-hmm. I think it really depends on where you are. Like I think everyone's comfort level is different. And it has, from what I've found, has a lot to do with where you are in processing, especially the more difficult things that you've gone through. If you are still working through it, then, you definitely can't go there. If you have come out on the other end of it and you've learned something or you perceive value, because everyone goes through stuff in life. Everyone has difficulties and challenges and pain. And I think when we allow ourselves to see that as part of the human experience and that you can take something away from it, that you can grow through it, that you can become stronger, that it can kind of deepen your understanding of yourself and the world around. I think when you come out the other end of it, you do become more open and more comfortable talking about that and sharing it with others because you realize that is something that connects you to them. It's nothing to be ashamed of. It's nothing that you need to hide. But not everybody is in that place. So I think there is a responsibility for leaders to create spaces that are safe, that feel psychologically and emotionally to be able to bring some of that out when the time is right. You can't force it. I think it has to happen naturally and you have to let people come to it when they're able. But I think it's really important to, whether it is a simple one-on-one interaction by chance or the workplace or a friendship, to always be ready to receive whatever information you get without judgment, to hear with a sense of caring. And I think when you come at it from that place, like, it's amazing what you'll get out of people.
I think I want to pick up on one of the things you said, Sowon, and you said it's situational. And I think that is so true. Depending on the situation we are in will dictate to a large extent how comfortable we are to open up to other people, to engage with other people, to deepen a relationship. So I'm actually a natural introvert. And a lot of people in the population, of course, we have introverts and extroverts. However, I have learned to extrovert with time. And I believe that all of us over time, we can do the opposite to what we prefer to do. It's a learned skill. And if I'm at a conference and I'm the speaker and I enter a room of 100 or 200 or more unknown people to me, I find it very easy to converse with them because they say, "Oh, you're the speaker." Oh, and I'm put on a kind of a pedestal, if I could put it that way, or a different position. But if I enter that room as Lindsay, a conference delegate, going into a room of 200 or whatever people I've never met before, I come from a really different position power. So sometimes I struggle to have conversations with people because I'm in a different position in the room. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
And I think, and then if you're talking about, if you want to reveal a personal issue, as Sowon said earlier about taking things deeper, then the timing and the position power of the people impacts on your ability to do that, I believe. Sometimes it's easier because you feel so much more trust and connection with the person than other times where it's like, I don't know, I really don't know this person. Not sure that I want to reveal. We're not sure that I want to take this down that road at this time.
And I think, like, both as a friend and also as a colleague and as a leader, it is really important to come from a place of genuine caring, right? And I think that is the best way to get people to open up. Not that you want to force it, you don't want to manufacture something like that or get people to open up just for the sake of opening up. But I think that it is important for people to be honest, both with themselves and with you, because that way you can get the best out of that work relationship. You get the best out of that person, just who they are. You get to know them. And then there is an authenticity to the connection that you have.
Yeah.
There's something really beautiful about that when you can do that. I love icebreakers. I think that it's a really great way to get people to just let their hair down, reveal something real about themselves. Sometimes it doesn't have to be serious. It could be a really silly topic. You never know what you're going to get. And again, it's like, I think that just being open and listening, doing the whole active listening thing, making eye contact and showing that whatever answer you're going to get is going to be received with warmth, I think is so important.
It would be really interesting, Sowon, to be a fly on the wall next Monday when you go to your new job and observe how people interact with you, with the new girl. Because, I guess there'll be maybe one or two people there you may know, but there'll be a whole lot of unknowns. And it'll be very interesting to sort of document how the relationships open up and how they develop over time. We could use you as a case study for the next year. Relationships. We'll follow you around with the camera.
I'm gonna have to record everything for posterity.
What a great idea. I can attest to Sowon's love of icebreakers. Sowon and I met on Lunch Club, and the first time we attempted to get on the call, before Sowon's Wi-Fi decided to go, bye, see you later, she asked an icebreaker question, and it was, if I remember rightly, so tell me your story in 2 minutes. You tell me your story, and then I'll tell you my story in 2 minutes. And it's like, okay. But then it was quite lucky because the Wi-Fi broke down, so I had a day to figure out what I was going to say.
That's not fair.
But when we got back on the call, I said, so can we make it 5 minutes instead of 2 minutes? Because it's just going to be really hard. But it was it was as a result of that conversation that I invited Sowon onto the podcast, just because of what it allowed us to really connect quite deeply with our lives and our stories. And that's where the authenticity comes from that you were just talking about, Sowon. Yeah.
It's that whole icebreaker thing is really interesting. I often say to people, so Pete, tell me the Pete Daly Dixon story. And if I've never met you before, and then people do a double take and they go, what do you mean? I go, well, why don't you start with I was born on? And so it's really interesting. Some people love, I grew up here and I went to school there, and others are just, I work for, it's a really interesting way, again, to open up that conversation. And I guess in Sowon's language, great icebreaker.
Yeah. And there's another one that I like to use that also gets some really interesting answers, right? And it sounds innocuous, but actually has the potential to go real deep, real fast, right? Which is, what would you say is your personal superpower? And we're not talking about invisibility or super strength, but, what do you do well that makes you stand out above others, right? And I think it does two things, right? So one, you share your best trait or something that you're really proud of, and then you walk out of that conversation feeling really great. And I love that because you should come out of any conversation feeling energized and great about yourself. Why not, right? Because if you leave that conversation and something's missing or you feel less than, then something went wrong. So I love having conversations like that.
And one of the things I talk about is when you are engaging with someone is to use the 80-20 rule. And that is to get them talking for 80% of the time and you talking for 20% of the time. And I guarantee if you do that, they will leave the conversation going, that's Sowon, she is so nice. And all you did was get them talking about them or get them talking, making them comfortable in the conversation. And, of course, the best way to do that is to ask them. I mean, I love that what's your superpower question. I'm keeping that one. But, the best way is to ask an open-ended question. A lot of people make the mistake of saying, so how are you today? Fine, thanks. Boom, conversation done. Rather than, what about the weather? What's going on? Like, goodness me. And, it was hot, it was cold, it was, rainy, it was cloudy, it's a simple one, which again enables you to open up. Or, I love that what's your superpower question, because that can go anywhere.
And that's a pro tip about the 80-20 rule. That's really great.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to take that too.
Yeah. So, and the other thing that I like to do is after the conversation is I call it the PS. So I'm the youngest of 5 boys, no sisters in my family. My eldest brother is 14 years older than me, so he'll be 35 next birthday-ish. You'd have to get the visual on this. If you're listening to the audio, it's not going to work. But anyway, so my mum is a great letter writer. My eldest brother lived in Darwin. Now, Darwin is right at the top of Australia. And from where I live, I think it's a 4-hour plane flight. It's a fair way away. So my brother lived up there for 11 years, and Mum would sit at the dining room table every Sunday night and write him a letter. Now, this was the days before the internet and computers. She would write him a letter, and oftentimes she'd finish the letter and she'd sign it off, "Love, Mum," and then she'd remember something she forgot to tell him. So she'd do a PS, a postscript. "Oh, I forgot to tell you, blah, blah, blah." And so I reckon that when we're in building relationships, we need to use the PS, and I call it the small act of positive service. So when the conversation's done, you follow up with some small act of positive service afterwards to cement that relationship. So you might say, you get back to your desk and write a handwritten note and say, "Aveline, so nice to meet you. I'm really looking forward to being interviewed by you on the podcast." Stick that in the post and send it off. Now, question to the room, how many of you have received a handwritten note in the last 365 days? 1, 2, well done. Everyone has. Fantastic.
Lindsay, I got it from you.
And that's a long time frame as well. If you said 3 months, probably not.
Yeah, and so again, the handwritten note thing's gone out the window. So stand out, be different. It's not that hard, but think about this. By serving the other person in some small way really cements that relationship, and it changes their perception of you. You become someone who's slightly more valued in their network. And it could be, I sent Aveline a copy of my book, and we talked about it when we were on the Zoom call together. And so I got out an envelope, wrote a little handwritten note, "Hi, Aveline, great chatting," whatever I said, I can't recall exactly, and sent her a book. Now, you don't have to send people a book. You could you could sit down at your desk and just write them an email and say, "Hey, Sowon, so nice to chat with you on the 6-Star podcast. Hope you have a great rest of your day." It doesn't need to be earth-shattering, but it's that thoughtful act of service which will make you memorable. Now, if we step out of the social context and put it into a business context, do you want to be memorable in the business world? Well, I think you would. Most people would anyway. And so want to stand out from the crowd, want to become memorable, want to be so that when people go, "Oh, I was talking to Pete Daly-Dixon. Oh, yeah, I know that guy. He's amazing. He sent me this note. He did this for me. He gave me a plate and a knife and fork at the conference." It doesn't have to be a big deal, but just some small act of positive service really makes a difference.
That's beautiful to hear that, but it's also sad in some way that the bar is so shockingly low that it actually only just takes some small gesture to be memorable, as you say, and to stand out, but more importantly, to cement that relationship.
Yeah, so technology, I think, has buggered and that's a technical term, has severely hampered face-to-face relationships. We've all got one of these. I'm holding up a mobile phone. For those who are listening, I'm holding up a mobile phone. So I've got 2 kids, and joyously now I've got 4 grandkids. Before the grandkids arrived, we had this lovely tradition called Friday night family night. So the kids would come home and have dinner with mum and dad, and so we would catch up with them on what they've been up to for the week. And the rule was you came and eat. If you wanted to stay, you could stay. If you wanted to go, you could go. And so one Friday night, we're sitting at the kitchen table. There's my daughter and her partner, my son and his wife, and I hear Debbie, my wife, say, "Oh, should I get my phone out?" And I looked up, And there we all, there's 5 of us sitting at the kitchen table, not talking to each other, all playing with our mobile phones. Now, this is meant to be a family gathering where we are conversing and joyously sharing our week. And we're all dicking around with our mobile phones. And I think that's like, that really slammed me hard. And I went, whoa. And I think technology has sometimes got in the way of our ability just to have simple conversations and to build effective relationships.
You know, what's really sorry, Av, you just unmuted. You're going to say something.
Yeah, thank you. As I've been listening, I'm really fascinated, Sowon, to hear how what Lindsay's talking about is relevant or how it can be applied in your work environment.
Yeah.
Rather than just a business context, you know what I mean, or meeting new people for the first time. How can it work in an existing organization, and maybe for yourself going to your new job next week?
Yeah, I think that, I mean, that is a really, I think, I love that idea, the PS idea. I think that's a really great way to put it. I definitely believe in making sure that no matter what relationship you go into, you do go in there offering something, offering to assist in some way. And I think that that's a real important networking tool as well. When you are networking with somebody, even if they are in a higher position, to go sort of offering, how can I help? Is there anything that I do, or that is in my skill set that could be of service to you? Can I write you a nice note on LinkedIn? Can I make a recommendation? All those things go really far. And I'm a big believer in paying it forward, even if the person has no means of giving anything back in return. Like, you should be serving others regardless, right? I think that it all kind of comes out of there. And that if everybody did that, it would make the world quite an amazing place, wouldn't it?
I think that is...
And less technology, to your later point too. Like, we do have to put our phones down.
Well,
We need to focus.
Technology is part of our lives no matter what. I mean, we wouldn't be talking to each other right now. And isn't it incredible that we're in such disparate parts of the world, and yet here we are having a face-to-face conversation? Isn't that amazing, for one thing? And that's wonderful. And we can't lose the human connection, though. And I think that's the critical piece, that we've still got to invest in the relationship. And I love your concept of pay it forward, so on. I think if we all, as you said, if we all just served other people a little more often, wouldn't the world be so much better for that service? And I did an exercise the other day with a guy around values. And service is a big value for me. I serve others in lots of different ways. And that's not the case for everyone. And I think the whole concept of pay it forward is really powerful. And so we should all look for opportunities to just do something little. It doesn't need to be a huge thing. But if we all imagine if we all gave one small act of service every day, what difference that would make in the world. I'm 100% with you.
Just talking about changing jobs, so on, how do you feel about the job move coming up?
Oh, it's so exciting. It's an opportunity at the next level. There's a lot more responsibility coming my way. I'm definitely going to have to learn a lot of new things, because in addition to overseeing the linear, I'm also going to inherit the leadership of the multi-platform part of it as well, and then dotting into the streaming side. So then all of that is opening a whole new world to me, and just being involved in building those bridges and making sure that we're servicing the brand and the IPs in the best way possible is really exciting. And I love meeting people. I love meeting new people and creating new connections and seeing where I can be of help. And again, it's like, I think it's not something that I came into work wanting to do, right? But as I guess, over the years, and as I've matured and the longer I've been in the business, like, I realize that I need to, at the end of the day, be able to put my head down on my pillow and feel good about my day. And I think that begins and ends with doing right by others. And when I feel like I've, done that. I don't know. I sleep like a baby. It's awesome. And the kind of goodwill that comes back just as a byproduct, even if it's 10% of what I put out there, is amazing. Just, I think if you really want to know what you are worth to other people, you got to leave, because all the goodbye messages that I've received have been overwhelmingly just amazing and warm, and just like, if I feel so good right now. I'm like, I'm going to be entering my new job on a major high, and I hope I don't have to like be deflated on my way in. But yeah, it's just so great, and I'm gonna hold on to them, because when I have my moments of doubt, and they do come, because who hasn't gone through imposter syndrome, had moments of self-doubt? I know that I have those notes to look back on, and know what I'm capable of, and the kinds of relationships I've formed over the years that I'm going to carry with me.
That's a major testament, I guess, to your ability to manage relationships so on. Good on you. I mean, what a wonderful way to leave an organization. When I left, I spent 18 years working in the Australian Taxation Office. And when I left, I got a bunch of farewell cards, as was the fashion in those days. It's a long time ago. Who does greeting cards to say goodbye to someone these days? It's sort of, see you later, send an email maybe. Anyway, I've got a little keepsake. I've got a little collection of this stuff which I've never thrown away, with wishes of farewell and good luck and all that sort of stuff. And it really does warm your heart, doesn't it? And it affirms you as a good human being. So good on you. You did something right, obviously, in the role that you played in that organization.
Yeah. And the thing is, I don't own that space, right? Like, anyone can do that.
Sure.
And I think that's the point of this, whoever's listening to this, that if you genuinely care about people, and that does have to come from a real place, right? I mean, the world is just that much better for you in return.
What I find, what I have found finding, I got my eye on the clock, which can we go to 2 hours, Av? Can we find a way of making these conversations 2 hours? And then when we do 2 hours, we'll probably want to go to 3 hours. I know that. But what's absolutely fascinating me about this conversation is that, on the one hand, we've not talked about 6-star business at all. And yet, on the other hand, it's all that we've talked about.
Absolutely. And you can't be a 6-star business person. You can't run a 6-star business if you haven't got a relationship with your staff, with your customers, with your whoever, your business partner, your life partner. It just doesn't work. I think, I said it earlier, relationships underpin everything that we do. And I think it's critical to a 6-star business. And so if you're a leader, you've got to be in relationship with your people. So when you'll be a leader in your new organization, obviously.
Yes.
Yeah. So here's a tip for free. Get to know, make it a high priority to go and meet and greet all of your people and get to know them as quickly as you can. And think of that 80-20 thing. Tell me your story, and they're going to walk away from that conversation going, that's Sowon. Wow. She's interested in me.
I have a sneaking suspicion that Sowon's probably got this from what she's shared.
Sorry, I'm teaching you how to suck it.
No, I don't know. I do have a tendency to ramble, so it's a good reminder. The 80-20 is a good reminder.
But just while we mentioned the 6-star business, what where you're moving from, Sowon, is there any aspects of that business that you would describe as 6-star that you would want to make sure that you saw in your new place?
Absolutely. I think what AMC Networks has done right is they have some of the best people working at the company. And really, like, I consider many of them friends, and even kind of almost like extended family, the people. And it all comes down to who the leaders are, whom they hire, how they hire, and whom they bring on, all of that. Like, from the moment I got there all the way until now, I've just always been impressed by the type of people that are at the company. People who are really passionate about the work that they do, are really intelligent, and also are so willing to do more. The reason that we were able to take a grassroots diversity, equity, and inclusion movement and turn it into a full-fledged program was because the leaders were willing to listen and open doors to myself and my colleague and listen to what we're telling them needs to change. And they were willing to do that. And you don't find that in many organizations, that openness and that willingness to learn and change. And I think that is what makes the organization I will be leaving a 6-star business. It really is the people. And that is also the part that I will miss the most.
Have you seen any glimpses of that where you're going? Have you spent enough time
Yes.
around the
Yeah.
okay.
Definitely. And I think I could not make this leap if I didn't see some likeness in where I'm going, for sure. So I'm very excited. I'm really hopeful, and I have a really good feeling about it.
Well, it sounds like you're going in with the best possible kind of mindset and intention. So that's brilliant.
Yeah.
So you're right, Pete. We've been talking about 6-star the whole time. And what I love is that this conversation has just gone deep into the human side of relationships, which exist in all facets of our business. Bosses, the people that we manage, our customers, our suppliers, everyone. Absolutely. It's just been a beautiful, fabulous conversation. I've got a question for both of you as we sort of come in towards the end. And that is there one or two things that tips that you could give our listeners that they could do to help improve this thing that we've been talking about?
Yeah, okay, that's an interesting one. 1 or 2 tips. Focus on the other person 110% and listen as if it's the only and the best conversation you've had in your life. Too often I go to an event and I'm talking to someone and their eyes are darting around the room whilst I'm engaging with them, and they're looking over my shoulder to see who else is there and is there someone else more important than me that perhaps they could be talking to. And so a great tip is to, if you're in conversation with someone, talk to them, listen to them. And the other thing is to listen carefully, because as human beings, when someone says something, we are already formulating our response before they've finished their sentence. And we sometimes miss the important nuance or piece of information while we're busy figuring out what we're going to say. And so focus on them 110% and listen to the same level, and that will make it so much easier. Again, they'll feel like you're interested in them. And that's such a big difference than having eyes darting all over the place going, I'm kind of listening to you. Or the other thing is that people who they're glancing at their mobile phone while you're talking to them. Like, hang on a minute, put that damn thing in your pocket. Plenty of time for that later. So that'd be my tips.
Great.
Thanks, Lindsay.
That's awesome. That's so great. I think the one thing I might be able to add to that is, and it's kind of an extension of it too, is after you listen, whatever goal you have, whatever your mission might be, don't forget it starts with one person. It starts with the one individual that you're talking to. It starts with your one customer. If you're doing right by them, success, good relationship, good work relationship, all of that will follow. And you have to do that with intention. I think, especially now as we're digital and all of that, you don't have the hallway run-ins to rely on anymore. So forming those relationships and keeping them healthy and strong requires attention and intention. And I think that when you go the extra mile and you schedule that 15-minute check-in with the person you haven't seen in a while, whether or not you have a business reason to talk to them, you never know what's going to come out of that and what you'll learn that day or that year that's going to ultimately come back in some, really great way. So start with the understanding that everything has to start with the individual. Where are they coming from? Who are they? What do they need? How can you help? And then I think after that, everything becomes easy.
It's a function both of the quality and caliber of the individuals in this conversation, as well as the quality of the conversation that's happened, that there is probably as much gold in that last 5 minutes of tips than there was in the whole conversation just gone. Amazing. Yeah. At some point in time, Av and I are going to pull out 5-minute snips, 10-minute snips, and that section there is definitely going to be at the top of the highlight reel.
Yeah.
Do you want to sadly bring us in for landing, Av?
What is it? Love you and leave you. It's kind of like that. It is. But I just want to say thank you so much. I'm deeply grateful to both of you for being here, for sharing your genius, your wisdom, and for caring enough to give of yourself like you have today. And I know that our listeners will be really grateful and appreciative because what you've shared has just been brilliant and so applicable to all of us in every aspect of our lives.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you.
And it was so nice to meet you, Lindsay, and Evelyn and Pete. It was good to connect with you again. So good to see you all.
Likewise.
That was another stimulating, thought-provoking episode of the 6-Star Business Podcast.
Thank you so much for getting this far. Please go ahead, like, subscribe, and give us a comment, review.
A rating, if there was a 6-star, we'd love you to give us a 6-star rating, but so just go as high as you can.
And if you want to continue the conversation with us and all the cool people who've joined us from the podcast, head on over to apply.6starbusiness.community.
See you there.